My name is Ethan Carter, and if there's one thing life has taught me, it's that the truth often arrives dressed in discomfort. I wasn't born into wealth, brilliance, or extraordinary talent. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood where people worked hard, lived simply, and rarely complained. My parents didn't give me luxuries, they gave me principles. They repeated one line, so often it carved itself into my bones. Life doesn't owe you anything. You must get up, fight, and earn your way forward. For a long time, I didn't fully understand what that meant. I thought success would happen if I just waited long enough, hoped hard enough, or wished loudly enough. But wishing is the comfort zone of those who fear the weight of effort. Eventually, I learned that wishing changes nothing. Action does. Back then, I wasn't exceptional in school, nor did I stand out in sports or creativity. But I had something far more powerful than talent, a stubborn determination that refused to let me stay down when I failed. And I failed a lot. There were moments I felt crushed, moments I questioned whether I had any purpose at all, moments I stared at the ceiling wondering what my life was meant to become. But every time I fell, I forced myself back up, even when it hurt. That became my first truth about life. Your failures don't shape you. Your response to them does. The world will remember your comeback long after it forgets your breakdown, that you've probably had nights like I did, lying awake, imagining a different version of yourself. A version with more money, a stronger body, a better job, a clearer direction. Maybe you've looked at your reflection and thought, why can't my life be easier? I've been in that same mental storm, and I'll tell you this. Nothing changes until you do. Happiness, purpose, growth, none of them arrive just because you want them. They arrive when you commit to changing your habits and transforming your mindset. Happiness isn't waiting in a fancy car or a bigger apartment. It lives in the small daily victories. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the quiet peace of doing something meaningful, the pride of pushing yourself even when no one is watching. And let's talk about money. People treat it as if it's the gatekeeper to satisfaction, the key to every locked door. Yes, money matters. You need it to survive. But money is a tool, not a destination. If you're empty inside, wealth only magnifies the emptiness. If you're insecure, money only gives those insecurities a louder voice. But if you're disciplined, passionate, and grounded, then money becomes something powerful, an amplifier of your purpose, not your identity. Then there's laziness, the silent dream killer. It's not dramatic or loud. It sneaks in quietly, whispering excuses, offering comfort, convincing you that tomorrow is a safer option. But every tomorrow you waste becomes a piece of your future you'll never regain. I learned this the hard way. I missed opportunities because I hesitated, because I doubted, because I let comfort distract me. That regret burned deeper than any failure ever did. I eventually made a promise to myself. Fear and laziness will never again dictate the direction of my life. Life will test you, push you, and even break you. But every closed door teaches you something, and every setback hides a chance to grow. The real question is, are you ready to step into the version of yourself that your future is waiting for? Because what I discovered next completely changed how I understood happiness, success, and the meaning of life itself. There was a time in my life when I thought happiness existed somewhere outside of me, hidden inside achievements, material things, or the approval of others. I believed that once I reached a certain income, once I lived in a better neighborhood, or once people finally recognized my effort, I would feel fulfilled. But life has a funny way of teaching its most important lessons when you least expect them. One morning, when I was feeling more exhausted than inspired, I decided to take a walk through a nearby park. My mind was cluttered with doubts, responsibilities, and questions I didn't know how to answer. That's when I noticed an elderly man sitting quietly on a bench, surrounded by a handful of birds that seemed to adore him. He had an expression that blended serenity with experience, almost as if he carried decades of wisdom in the lines of his face. For reasons I still can't fully explain, I sat next to him. Maybe I wanted a moment of silence, or maybe I was searching for clarity. After a few seconds, he turned toward me and asked, "Son, do you know what real happiness is?" I expected a complicated philosophical explanation, but instead he smiled gently and said, "Happiness isn't something you discover, it's something you build." Those words struck me deeper than any motivational book, any seminar, or any long speech I had ever heard. He didn't say it dramatically or with emphasis. He said it as if it were the simplest truth in the world. In that moment, I realized something I had overlooked for years. I had been waiting for life to hand me joy, waiting for some perfect moment to confirm that I had finally made it. But happiness isn't a reward, it's a creation. It's the product of your choices, your mindset, your perspective. That old man didn't have anything flashy or impressive, yet he radiated peace because he appreciated the simplest elements of life: morning air, small moments, stillness, and gratitude. From that day forward, I tried simplifying my life. I stopped chasing things that drained my energy and started focusing on what truly added value. I found joy in reading a few pages of a good book, in walking without a destination, in learning something new just for the sake of learning. I began to detach my self-worth from accomplishments and instead connect it to growth, real personal growth. I discovered that life feels different when you stop trying to impress the world and start trying to understand yourself. But there's another lesson I learned during this shift. Failure is not an enemy. It's a guide. The first business I ever launched crashed harder than I expected. I had invested everything into it: my savings, my time, my hopes. When it failed, I felt as if a part of me had collapsed with it. But with time, I realized that the failure wasn't a dead end. It was a blueprint. It showed me what didn't work, what needed improvement, and most importantly, who I needed to become. Failure has this strange gift. It strips away illusions and leaves you facing your raw self. And once you face yourself, you can decide to rebuild stronger. Then comes judgment. No matter what you do, fail, succeed, stay quiet, stand out, someone will always criticize you. People interpret your actions through their own fears, insecurities, and limitations. Once I understood that, I stopped letting opinions define my direction. You can't live a free life if you are imprisoned by the thoughts of others. If you're waiting for permission to live fully, here's the truth: you already have it. But everything changed even more when life taught me a darker and far more painful lesson. One that reminded me how fragile time really is. There comes a moment in every person's life when reality hits harder than any failure, any rejection, or any self-doubt. For me, that moment arrived when I lost someone incredibly close to me. He was a friend who felt more like a brother, someone I shared dreams, struggles, and countless late night conversations with. One day, we were discussing our future plans, imagining the things we were going to build, the risks we were going to take, and the adventures we wanted to experience. The next day, he was gone, just like that. No warning, no explanation, no chance to say goodbye. That loss shattered something inside me. It forced me to confront a truth many people ignore until it's too late. Life is painfully short, and tomorrow is never guaranteed. For weeks, I walked around feeling hollow, trying to pretend I was fine, trying to outrun the grief that kept catching up to me. But grief isn't something you can outrun. It's a teacher, one that speaks quietly but leaves a permanent mark. Losing him made me realize how fragile time truly is. All the things we postpone, all the dreams we delay, All the words we never speak, they don't wait for us. Life doesn't pause. It moves with or without you. And that realization shook me awake. I understood that if there was something I wanted to do, I had to do it now. Not next year. Not when things settle. Not when the timing feels right. Because waiting for the perfect moment is the fastest way to lose the moment you already have. His death taught me that regret is heavier than failure. Failure at least teaches you something. Regret teaches you nothing except the weight of what if. I promised myself I would not let my life end with a list of things I wished I had done. I would no longer let fear delay my dreams. And I would not let the opinions of others dictate the path I walked. Around the same time, I discovered something equally important: the power of curiosity. Many people stop learning because they think learning is only for the young. But life is far richer when you continue exploring, even when you feel like you've seen it all. At the age of 40, I randomly decided to learn how to paint. The funny part? I couldn't even draw a decent stick figure. But that wasn't the point. I wanted to remind myself of what it felt like to be a beginner, to struggle, to improve slowly, to try something simply because it brought joy. That simple decision revived a part of me I thought I had lost. The part that isn't afraid to experiment, to fail, to grow. Learning new things, big or small, keeps your spirit alive. It keeps your mind flexible and your heart open. It breaks routine, reignites excitement, and reminds you that life is full of undiscovered corners. When you stop learning, you stop living. So I kept exploring. New hobbies, new skills, new perspectives. And each new experience gave me another reason to be grateful for the time I still had. Then there's the mind, our most powerful, yet most neglected resource. Your thoughts shape your reality more than anything else. If you constantly feed your mind stories of fear, doubt, and negativity, it will eventually trap you in that prison. But if you plant seeds of purpose, strength, and gratitude, your inner world becomes a place of growth instead of limitation. What you allow to live in your mind eventually shows up in your life. Loss taught me that every day is a chance to choose, to grow or to stagnate, to speak or stay silent, to try or to hesitate. And once you truly understand how delicate life is, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. But even after learning all this, life had one more lesson waiting for me, a lesson about the mind, identity, and the kind of strength most people never realize they already have. If there is one battlefield most people never learn to navigate, it's the one inside their own mind. Long before life challenges you from the outside, it tests you from within. And for years, I didn't realize just how much of my struggle came from the stories I was telling myself. I used to believe I needed permission to dream boldly. I used to think I had to earn the approval of others before I could pursue what truly mattered to me. I worried about being judged, misunderstood, or labeled as unrealistic. And because of that, I held myself back for far longer than I care to admit. Then one day, it hit me. The world will judge you no matter what you do. So you might as well do what sets your soul on fire. People are quick to attach labels. If you succeed, they call you lucky. If you fail, they call you careless. If you take a different path, they call you crazy. And if you follow the crowd, no one remembers you anyway. The truth is, judgment is unavoidable. But your response to judgment determines how far you go. Once I stopped trying to impress people who weren't living my life, I felt a freedom I had never experienced before. I realized that most people form opinions based on their own fears, not your reality. And their approval isn't oxygen. You won't die without IT at some point. You must take back the authority you hand over to others. You must remember that you hold the pen. You are the one writing your story, not society, not your critics, not the people who underestimated you. When you finally understand that, You walk differently. You think differently. You dream differently. Because you're no longer building a life to be accepted. You're building a life to be fulfilled. But there's another part of the mind that's just as powerful: focus. In a world overflowing with distractions, clarity has become one of the rarest skills. Everywhere you turn, someone wants your attention: notifications, opinions, noise, comparisons. And without realizing it, you get pulled in 1,000 different directions. But clarity doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing what matters. When I began cutting out distractions, people, habits, routines that drained me, I felt my life realigning. I started waking up with a clear purpose instead of random impulses. I learned that you don't need more time, you need more intention. And intention requires courage. Courage to choose what's important. Courage to protect your peace. Courage to let go of things you've outgrown. Courage to speak your truth even when your voice shakes. Life isn't just about surviving, it's about evolving. And sometimes, evolution demands that you step away from what is familiar so you can grow into what is possible. Your identity isn't fixed, it's fluid. You're allowed to reinvent yourself. You're allowed to start new chapters at 20, at 40, at 70. Age doesn't determine growth, desire does. You can change careers, learn new skills, take new risks, form new habits, and rewrite the narrative you once believed about yourself. The person you think you are is only a fraction of who you can become. And once you commit to becoming the best version of yourself, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, your life shifts. The world opens up. Opportunities begin to align with your energy. People who once overlooked you suddenly notice you. Doors you thought were locked begin to open. Because when your inner world grows, your outer world follows. Everything you want begins inside your mind. Your courage, your discipline, your consistency, your transformation. Master the inner world, and everything in the outer world will begin to reflect it. But as powerful as the mind is, the final truth I discovered changed everything. It revealed what life is really about, and why the best chapters are still unwritten. Life doesn't come with a map, a manual, or a guarantee. It unfolds moment by moment, teaching you through experiences you never planned for. And the older I get, the more I realize that life isn't about reaching some perfect destination. It's about becoming someone you're proud of along the way. You don't win by being flawless. You win by being resilient, curious, open-hearted, and willing to grow even when it's uncomfortable. For a long time, I believed life was about achieving more, collecting more, proving more. But over the years, I discovered that the real beauty of life exists in something far simpler: presence. Being here, being alive, appreciating the quiet miracles of an ordinary day. People often think happiness comes when everything falls into place, but it's the opposite. Happiness arrives when you start making peace with the messy parts of your journey: the failures, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, the uncertainty. These aren't signs that you're on the wrong path. They are signs that you're actually living. Your struggles shape your strength. Your losses deepen your gratitude. Your challenges carve out the person you are becoming. And the most important truth is this: you don't have to have everything figured out to take the next step. You just need the courage to move. There were moments in my life when I felt completely lost, unsure of what direction to take, unsure of what purpose I was serving. But those moments of confusion were not empty. They were transitions, periods of transformation disguised as setbacks. And looking back now, I realized that even when I felt stuck, life was quietly preparing me for something bigger. Every unanswered question pushed me to explore new possibilities. Every disappointment redirected me towards something meaningful. Every closed door forced me to knock on a different one. one that eventually led to growth point. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that you are more capable than you think. You are stronger than your fears, braver than your doubts, and wiser than your past mistakes. You don't need the world to validate your worth because your worth is inherent. It was always there, even on the days you couldn't see it. You are allowed to be imperfect. You are allowed to start again. You are allowed to dream bigger. You are allowed to take risks. You are allowed to step into a version of yourself that no one has ever seen before. People will try to fit you into their expectations, but you're not here to be a copy of anyone else. You are here to create, to feel, to explore, to rise, to love, to fail, to try again, to reinvent, and to keep moving forward. You are the author of your story, and every sunrise gives you a blank chapter. You don't need permission to change your life. You just need a decision. One moment of courage can shift your entire future. And if there's one message I hope stays with you long after my voice fades, it's this: the best is not behind you. It is always ahead of you. Life is unpredictable, but that unpredictability is what makes it beautiful. No matter what hardships you've faced, no matter how many times you've fallen, no matter how uncertain your path looks right now, your story is far from over. There are still victories waiting. There are still breakthroughs coming. There are still reasons to smile that you haven't even discovered yet. This moment, right here, right now, is your reminder that you are enough, you are capable, and you are deserving of every dream that lives inside your heart. Your journey is unique. Your story matters. And your future is brighter than you can imagine. Because the truth is this: your next chapter hasn't even been written yet, and you are the only one powerful enough to write it.